What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, May 11th, 2024, and I have another emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 1300 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and the Middle East. And last night, we had this crazy geomagnetic storm, which, as far as I know, is still ongoing right now. The K index, which measures the strength of the solar storm, is still very high, and we are still at a G5 class geomagnetic storm, which is the strongest type of geomagnetic storm. That's like a category 5 hurricane. So we are still at a G5 level, the highest level of a geomagnetic storm. This could be the strongest geomagnetic storm in decades. Okay, so make sure you have all your sensitive electronics put away in Faraday bags, or if you don't have Faraday bags, get yourself some aluminum foil, or you can use emergency space blankets, those emergency foil blankets that can keep you warm in a survival situation. Get some of those at Walmart or your local sporting goods store. They're like $1 or $2 for a small pack, and you can line a garbage can with that material, which is mylar, and you can glue it to the inside of the garbage can, and that can be your protection against the EMP radiation. You can also use aluminum foil and do the same thing, but it's not as good. Another option is to put your stuff in either a microwave or an oven. Okay, just don't turn your oven on and melt your devices by accident. But guys, this is absolutely historic. This extreme geomagnetic storm last night. There were auroras spotted in Jamaica and in Puerto Rico and in southern Mexico near Puerto Vallarta. Okay, we have not seen something like that in decades. So, very serious situation. I'm going to continue to monitor it. We could have power interruptions this weekend, and the NOAA in the US is saying that there were more flares overnight. So we could expect to see these conditions last through the rest of the weekend. There will be opportunities to see auroras again tonight. Now, before I get more into the solar storm, I want to show you guys something very unusual that happened last night while I was live streaming very late last night, early this morning at around 4 a.m. Eastern Time. We had a Romanian reconnaissance plane violate the Serbian border and fly into Serbian airspace. And then shortly after that, there was a Serbian government helicopter that took off from Belgrade, which is the capital of Serbia, and it flew very low, only 1,000 feet in elevation, and it flew directly towards Romania and violated the Romanian border on the Danube River just outside of Belgrade. So what you're looking at here is the flight path of the Romanian reconnaissance plane and the Serbian government plane. So the Serbian government plane is the one with the yellow flight path here, and it took off shortly after the Romanian recon plane flew into Serbian airspace, violated Serbia's airspace, flew in, and it just flew in like 1 or 2 miles into Serbia, and then it turned around and left. And then just maybe about 30 minutes after, the Serbian government helicopter took off and went straight towards Romania, and it disappeared once it went over the Romanian border. Its transponder was turned off as soon as it crossed the Romanian border. Okay, that is extremely unusual, and I verified this with multiple flight trackers because a lot of times these flight trackers are not super accurate, but I made sure to refresh my flight tracker. I was using Flight Radar 24. I refreshed it multiple times to confirm that it wasn't the flight tracker. And then I also checked on another flight tracker, and indeed, a Romanian reconnaissance plane flew into Serbia last night. And then shortly after, a Serbian government helicopter flew very low to avoid radar. And then it flew right into Romania and turned its transponder off when it flew into Romania. So here's a close-up look of the Serbian government helicopter. And you can see here that as soon as it crossed the Romanian border on the Danube River near the town of Radosevac in Serbia, you can see that it just disappeared from the flight tracker. Okay, and this is not an error with the flight tracker because I refreshed it multiple times. I checked other flight trackers. So it looks like Romania and Serbia violated each other's airspace last night. Why? I have no idea. Okay, but wanted to just share that with you. And then here's the Romanian reconnaissance plane that violated Serbia's airspace. You can see it came in from the east, it crossed the Danube River, and it looped around the town of Grabovica in Serbia, looped around it, and then went out and left. It's possible that the pilot maybe just made a mistake and forgot that the border was here, and he just flew over and then realized he flew into Serbia and, said, oh crap, I better turn around now. Or maybe this was a test to see what Serbia's air defenses are like. I have no idea. But this is very, very serious, guys. We know that Serbia has threatened to invade Bosnia in recent weeks, and they've also threatened to invade Kosovo as well. And now there's problems with Romania, okay? And here's the other flight tracker that confirmed that this Romanian Antonov 30 with the Romanian Air Force flew into Serbia around the town of Grabovica and then turned around and left, okay? So the border is right here. This is the Danube River, and it crossed over into Serbia. So want to just update you guys with the latest information on this geomagnetic storm. And this update was sponsored by Patriot Supply. Guys, Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? They also have a general store, and they're always running discounts in their general store on various prepping and survival items. They have everything from MREs, potassium iodide, to survival seeds. And to get to their general store, you got to click on the Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com. And you'll see when you get there, they have everything you can imagine. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food, free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video. And also check out their general store. They have everything you can imagine prepping and survival related, and they're always running various discounts there. So you can see the planetary K index is still extremely high. We're still at about an 8.5 or almost 9, and the scale maxes out at 9. So we've been basically at the top of the scale all morning this morning and all night last night. and there's no signs of this weakening, and they're warning of more X-class flares and more G5 conditions. They say here X-class flares continue to occur. Sunspot region 3664 remains quite active and produced 2 more X-class flares in the last 12 hours. So get prepared, guys, okay? And they say here G5 conditions were reached yet again. Extreme G5 conditions were observed again at 0728 Eastern Time, and storming of varying intensity will persist through at least Sunday. At least Sunday, guys. It could last even through Monday or Tuesday. Okay, the threat of additional strong flares and CMEs will remain until the large and magnetically complex sunspot cluster rotates out of view over the next several days. So we could see auroras tonight, tomorrow night, and even Monday night. Okay, so we could also see power grid interruptions and interruptions in communication systems. Here we have a picture coming out of Jamaica at the Sandals Resort in Jamaica, and you can see the sky is pink there in this picture. It's a little bit hard to see because there are some clouds, but if you look at the top of the picture here, you can see this pink color here. Okay, so in Sandals Resort in Jamaica, people reported seeing vivid auroras, guys. That is insane. And here's a picture coming from Jalisco, Mexico. This is near Puerto Vallarta in southern Mexico. Look at this very vivid aurora that was spotted there last night. Here we have a picture coming out of the Canary Islands. This is in Tenerife. Okay, look at how vivid that is in Tenerife in the Canary Islands, guys. Okay, this is the tropics we're talking about here. Here's a picture coming out of Florida. This is in Key Largo, Florida, guys. Look at how vivid this aurora is in Key Largo. Absolutely insane. And then here's a picture of the aurora in Puerto Rico, and you can see this pink color here. Very, very strong geomagnetic storm. Absolutely insane. So I want to just update you guys with what's going on in Eastern Europe. So apparently on April 29th, a decree was signed in Belarus for the conscription of a classified number of reserve officers for the Belarusian military. And this is the first time in 30 years that Belarus has conscripted reserve officers. Okay, so that's another sign that Belarus is preparing for war with the Baltics and Poland. And Belarus and Russia are doing tactical nuclear weapons drills right now. They posted a video the other day on the Belarusian Ministry of Defense website of them loading Iskander missiles with nuclear warheads onto the Iskander launcher vehicle. Okay, so they're basically getting their tactical nuclear weapons ready. That's what this is. Okay, Russia has a history of doing exercises right before they do something, okay? Or they use the exercise as a cover for an actual combat deployment, which is what they did before they invaded Ukraine. If you remember, they said they were just doing an exercise right before they invaded Ukraine. They said, oh, we're just doing an exercise. The West is being hysterical. Nothing's going to happen. We have no plans to invade anyone. And then sure enough, they invaded. Okay. And now they're doing the same thing with these tactical nuclear weapons drills. Guys, make no mistake about it. This is Russia telling NATO and the West that they are ready to use tactical nuclear weapons against NATO if things escalate, okay? And they're actually loading the nuclear weapons onto the delivery platforms, the Sukhoi 25s used by Belarus and the Iskanders used by Belarus. Okay, so this means that things are about to escalate and Russia is preparing for a possible escalation. okay? And Belarus signing a decree to conscript an unspecified number of reserve officers for the first time in 30 years is extremely concerning. They were also doing a lot of combat training in the past week. They did a combat staff drill or command staff drill with a pontoon bridge battalion of the 188th Engineering Brigade. They also did an inspection of their Air Force and their Air Defense Forces. Okay, so these are all things that you need if you're going to attack the Baltics. You need command staff drills. Okay, so these are drills for all the generals. Drills with a pontoon bridge battalion. Why do you need a pontoon bridge battalion if you're going to attack the Baltics or Poland? Well, because there's major rivers that go along the border of Poland and Belarus, and also along Lithuania and Belarus. They have rivers there, multiple rivers, but specifically in the part of Lithuania near Belarus, where Belarus has massed a lot of forces, there's a river there. It's the Neva River, okay? And then there's also the Bug River in Poland that goes along the border with Belarus, okay? So Belarus is practicing building pontoon bridges so their forces can cross those rivers when they invade Poland and Lithuania. And then they did an inspection of their Air Force. Obviously, you need an Air Force if you're doing an invasion. And then obviously you need air defense forces as well. They have S-400s that they've already set up literally just within 5 miles of the Polish and Lithuanian border in two places, in northwest Belarus near Grodno and in southwest Belarus near the city of Brest. They have dozens of S-400 missiles, okay? So this is very, very serious. And the Polish prime minister said that they are fortifying the Polish border today. He said, "We have started intensive work on a modern fortification, and these fortifications in many dimensions will be built along the entire Polish border from the east." This is not only Poland's internal border, but also the border of the European Union. Therefore, I have no doubt that all of Europe will have to, and I know that we will achieve this, invest in its security by investing in Poland's eastern border and in the security of our border. Okay, so Poland is going to be building massive fortifications along their border with Belarus and also Russia. They're going to be digging trenches. They're going to be putting in bunkers. The Polish defense minister said yesterday that they were already starting the process of constructing this massive fortification line on the border of Russia and Belarus. And this comes just a few days after Latvia said that they were starting to dig trenches along their border with Russia. And also comes a few days after the Latvian military started training Latvian hunters on how to use night vision and thermal devices and training them in combat tactics and sniper tactics. And then the Latvian Hunters Association signed an agreement with the Latvian military that if there was an invasion, that the Latvian Hunters Association would ask their members, which are Latvian hunters, about 50,000 of them, to assist the Latvian military in repelling any kind of invasion. Okay, so something is brewing here. And look what we have here, guys. This was overnight last night. We have an Italian reconnaissance plane that was looping over northeastern Poland, and it was focusing its efforts on Kaliningrad. There was also a Polish border guard plane in northeastern Poland near the city of Białystok. It actually turned its transponder off after it took off from the airport there. And then there was also this NATO aerial refueler that flew to Kaunas in Lithuania. Okay, so something's brewing here, guys. Okay, everybody's focusing on Ukraine, but I think Russia is going to go for the Baltics and potentially parts of Poland. They're going to try to make a land connection to Kaliningrad, because right now Kaliningrad is isolated geographically It's disconnected from the rest of Russia. So Russia needs a land bridge to Kaliningrad, okay? And this past week, we had one day where 2 presidential doomsday planes flew to the doomsday bunker in Colorado. So what you're looking at here is a Boeing E-4B Night Watch. This is the presidential doomsday plane. The president can command the entire military from this plane during a nuclear war, and it took off from Stratcom headquarters, and it went to Colorado Springs, and then it went back to Stratcom, and then there was another one that did the same thing as well. You can see it took off from Stratcom, flew over northern Missouri with its transponder off, and then it went to Colorado Springs, which is where Cheyenne Mountain is located. Okay, U.S. government continuity of government site and also home of NORAD, and then it went back to Stratcom headquarters. We also had this Ohio class sub that was escorted by A-10 Warthogs near the Puget Sound. It took off from the Puget Sound and went out into the Pacific on a combat deployment. This is the USS Nebraska. This is a nuclear-armed submarine operated by the U.S. Navy, and it's part of the U.S. nuclear triad. And what's very concerning about this is that it was escorted by A-10 Warthogs. Okay, I have spoken to several people in the military, and they say that the U.S. never escorts Ohio-class subs or any subs during peacetime with A-10 Warthogs, guys. Okay, this is extremely concerning, all right? And we also had the Polish defense minister tweet on May the 9th on Thursday that Polish people need to have a bug-out bag because they are critical in the first few hours of unforeseen situations or natural disasters. Okay, so he's telling people to prepare for crisis situations. Preparedness for crisis situations is not only an obligation, but also our responsibility. A safety backpack may prove crucial in the first hours of unforeseen situations or natural disasters. Okay, very concerning. And right now, this afternoon, we have a U.S. Navy sub-hunter plane that just got dispatched to Kaliningrad, and it's going to keep an eye on Kaliningrad now. Okay, so something's brewing here, guys. Everybody's focusing on Ukraine, but I'm telling you, something's brewing here in the Baltics, in Poland. We have all this activity, and it's not for no reason at all. Okay, and we also have these special forces units of the Belarusian Army still stationed on the border of Ukraine, close to the capital of Ukraine, Kiev. Potentially, they could be used for a future invasion towards Kiev if Russia tries to take the capital again. Here we have a new insignia or marking that was used by Russian forces in their attack on Kharkiv the other day. The Russian offensive has started. They've taken several villages in the Kharkiv Oblast, and you can see this truck here, and it has this marking. Okay, it's not the Z symbol that everybody became familiar with when Russia initially invaded, but it's like a diamond with an X over it. Okay, check that out. So that's the new marking that Russia is using for this new campaign. And Ukrainian sources are claiming that Russian mechanized infantry elements have managed to deepen their bridgehead into the Kharkiv region of northwestern Ukraine over the last 24 hours, with fighting now reportedly near the town of Khlyboke, which is over 3.5 miles from the border with the Belgorod region of western Russia, as well as on the outskirts of Lukyansky, just to the south of Pilna. In addition to this advance roughly 20 miles to the northeast of Kharkiv city, it's also reported that Russian elements have now crossed the Ukrainian border to the north of Vovchansk, having captured the towns of Natishtse, Pletanivka, and apparently they've also established another large bridgehead for large-scale offensive operations. Okay, so guys, Russia is going to go after Kharkiv. Okay, they've set up multiple bridgeheads now in preparation for large-scale offensive operations in the north of the Kharkiv Oblast. The General Staff of Ukraine reports that defensive battles against the attempts of the Russian invaders to conduct offensive actions and advance deep into the territory of Ukraine in the Kharkiv region are ongoing. In the directions of the settlements of Liptsy and Vovchansk of the Kharkiv region, counterattack measures continue. The enemy is using infantry and mechanized equipment. Russian units occupied the settlements of Borisivka, Orgutsovo, Pletanuvka, Pilnaya, and Strehelchaya in the Kharkiv region, according to the Ministry of Defense of Russia. So Russia's claiming that they occupied 5 villages already, and the U.S. has been coordinating closely with Ukraine on Russia's Kharkiv offensive. And the White House said that it is possible that Russia will make further advances in Ukraine in the coming weeks. And the size of the Russian invasion force in Kharkiv is estimated to be 50,000 soldiers, 400 tanks, 930 armored vehicles, 990 supply vehicles, and 120 MLRS rocket launchers. Okay, so a massive force gathered on the border of Kharkiv, and they're going to move in, guys. What they're doing is they're sending in their recon units first, and they're establishing bridgeheads first. Okay, they're trying to set up bridges because there's probably some small creeks and streams there that they have to cross. Soon as they establish those bridgeheads, they're going to start funneling in all these troops and tanks. Okay, and Ukraine is not prepared for that, and I'm very concerned that we could see a modern day Stalingrad take place in Kharkiv, because Kharkiv is such an important city to Ukraine. Okay, it's a major industrial hub. That's where during the USSR they had a T-72 factory, but Kharkiv city has millions of people, and it's very important economically for Ukraine. It's the second largest city in Ukraine. Okay, so Kharkiv and Odessa are the 2 most important cities in Ukraine besides Kiev. Okay, so this is very, very concerning, guys. Okay, Ukraine is not going to give up Kharkiv because it's so important to them. It would be like if China invaded California and they tried to take Los Angeles. All right, we would try to keep Los Angeles just because it's so important to our economy and we have ports there and stuff like that. So that could turn into a modern day Stalingrad. We have to keep an eye on that. And apparently EU ambassadors have agreed to a draft of a security guarantee for Ukraine. And the White House today published an executive order allocating $400 million worth of military aid to Ukraine. The package includes Bradley fighting vehicles, missiles for the Patriot system, Stinger missiles, artillery shells, Humvees and MRAPs, Javelins and AT-4s, logistical vehicles, and tactical vehicles. Okay, so this is obviously an emergency package because Russia is attacking Kharkiv now, and this is not going to stop this Russian invasion of Kharkiv, guys. Okay, this little amount of equipment's not going to do anything, but I do believe Russia is going to try to take Kharkiv. And the White House also added that part of the allocated funds will go to military education and training of the Ukrainian army. And Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky dismissed Major General Sergei Rud as the head of the State Guard Service, according to the Ukrainian presidential website. The move comes after 2 officers of the agency tasked with protecting government bodies and senior officials were detained over an alleged plot to assassinate the Ukrainian leader. The reasons for the sacking of the guard chief, who had held the role since 2019, have not been formally announced. The Strana.ua news website claimed that Rudd's dismissal was on the cards after the Ukrainian Security Service which is Kiev's successor to the Soviet-era KGB, announced on Tuesday that 2 officers of the State Security Administration were allegedly part of a conspiracy to assassinate Zelensky, as well as the head of the SBU, Vasily Malyuk, and the head of Ukraine's military intelligence, Kirilo Budanov, and other top Ukrainian officials. Wow. And former NATO Supreme Allied Commander James Stavridis has suggested that NATO should neutralize Russia's western enclave of Kaliningrad if Moscow seriously endangers the security of the Baltic states. Look for NATO to use its Baltic Lake to put pressure on tiny Kaliningrad, which acts as a geographic wedge between NATO's Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and the rest of the alliance, Stavridis wrote. In the event of a war, Kaliningrad will need to be neutralized, so Russian land forces likely operating through Moscow's vassal state Belarus cannot take control of the critical Suwalki Gap. And the New York Times found out from satellite images where Russian nuclear weapons are located in Belarus. The facility is located 32 miles north of the Ukrainian border at a military storage site near the town of Osipovichi. Some of the recent construction there has features unique to nuclear storage facilities at bases inside Russia. Nuclear warheads are usually stored near military bases where carriers of such weapons are stationed. The alleged nuclear storage site is in the same area as Belarus's Iskander missile systems, which could be used to launch nuclear or conventional warheads. Russia delivered the nuclear-tipped Iskanders to Belarus in 2022. The same facility that Russia is rebuilding today was used to store nuclear weapons during the Cold War. So what you're looking at here is a satellite picture of this facility right outside of Osipovichi, okay, where Russia has moved nuclear weapons into Belarus. And there was a vote by the Israeli War Cabinet Friday night to expand the Rafa operation, and it was approved. So Israel will be expanding their Rafa operation. So this is going to be a massive operation in Rafa. Israel has already placed all their tanks and troops right on the outskirts of Rafah, and they're just waiting to evacuate all the civilians before they go in. And apparently the Israeli military has issued new evacuation orders in Rafah, and the Israeli military is saying that already 300,000 people have now been evacuated from Rafah. And ABC News, citing an Israeli source, reported that truce negotiations between Hamas and Israel have stalled, and there are no ongoing talks. And Egyptian officials informed CIA Director Bill Burns in Cairo that they would cancel the Camp David agreements if the U.S. didn't exert serious pressure on Israel to end its operation in Rafah and return to serious negotiations. The Camp David agreements make it illegal for Egypt to mass military forces in the Sinai Peninsula close to Israel. So that is huge, guys. And it's very possible that after Israel goes into Rafah, that Egypt could potentially attack Israel, guys. Okay? And don't forget that Iran launched hundreds of missiles at Israel. Okay? So it's very possible that Egypt could attack Israel now. Okay? And the UN General Assembly approved a resolution for the UN Security Council to reconsider making Palestine a sovereign country and making it a UN member after the UN Security Council failed to approve its statehood recently. The UN General Assembly voted 143 votes in favor and 9 against, including the US and Israel, while 25 countries abstained. Now, this does not mean that Palestine is a de facto member of the UN. It just asks the UN Security Council to vote again on making them a member, which will likely not pass because the US is going to veto it. And U.S. National Security Advisor John Kirby said the state of Palestine can be established as a result of negotiations between the two parties, not by a decision of the United Nations. That is why we voted against it. Okay, so no chance for Palestine to become a UN member. That is some good news. And U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders said that an Israeli operation in Rafah must mean an end to all U.S. military aid to Netanyahu's right-wing extremist government. Wow. And North Korea tested advanced artillery recently, and this could be why we saw all those combat Sentinel planes flying in the Red Sea the last few nights that I was sharing with you guys, and also the Cobra ball that took off from Okinawa Thursday night. So apparently Kim Jong-un inspected and observed test firings of North Korea's updated 240 millimeter multiple launch rocket system, which includes an automatic fire control system for improved effectiveness. But that's the latest breaking news that I have, guys. I will be back later on tonight with another update. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when I post these updates. Also, check out my Telegram channel. I post all of these updates on my Telegram channel. And my Telegram channel is t.me/NYPrepper1. I'm going to leave a link to my Telegram in the comments down below. But I post all of these updates to my Telegram. So if you follow my Telegram, you'll never miss an update because I post them all over there. Okay, so it's very convenient. All you have to do is pull up my Telegram and you'll see all of my updates and you can catch up on all of them rather than trying to find me on YouTube, which lately people have been having difficulties finding me on YouTube. If you can't find my channel, just type at NYPrepper. Okay, use the at symbol in front of NYPrepper, one word, no spaces, at NYPrepper. That's my channel handle. Or you can go to youtube.com/NYPrepper and it'll take you there. You can also go to my website, NewYorkPrepper.com. All of my latest videos automatically go to my website, so you can check that out as well. It just takes a few hours for the videos to transfer over to my website, so there is a delay. But I will be back later on tonight. And thank you guys so much for all your love and support and your comments. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Steve Quayle. Thank you so much, Steve Quayle, for having my back. I appreciate it. And also, thank you for sharing out all of my videos. Check out stevequayle.com. He's always shouting me out. I really appreciate it. And until later on, take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. Culinary out.